If you're wondering which mirrorless cameras under $1,000 are worth your money, stick around. After we run through each product, I'll give you my personal take. Would I buy it or would I skip it? No fluff, just my honest opinion. Let's get into it. Canon EOS R10, the autofocus on this thing is pretty damn good and tracks subjects like a bloodhound on cocaine, plus it shoots 4K at 60 frames per second, which is sweet for slow motion shots of your cat doing backflips. But the high ISO performance is about as reliable as my ex-girlfriend. It starts getting noisy above ISO 1600, and there's a serious lack of native RFS lenses, which is kind of a pain in the ass. Would I buy it? Yes, it's a solid all-rounder that won't make you sell your kidney. Sony A6400. This little beast has some of the fastest autofocus in the game with 425 focus points, and the image quality is crisp enough to count your neighbor's nose hairs from across the street. The battery life sucks harder than a vacuum cleaner though, and that touchscreen is about as responsive as a sloth on sleeping pills. Would I buy it? Maybe. If you can live with carrying spare batteries like their Pokemon cards. Sony ZV-E10. Props to Sony for making a vlogging camera that actually has decent audio with that 3-capsule microphone, but the rolling shutter effect makes your footage look like jelly when you pan. Seriously, it's like filming through a bowl of pudding. The battery life is surprisingly good though, giving you about 80 minutes of recording time before dying. Would I buy it? No, the wobble effect is too much for my shaky hands. Fujifilm X-T30 rocking that sexy retro design with modern guts, including a 26.1 megapixel sensor that captures colors better than Bob Ross on his best day. The downside? No in-body stabilization means you'll need arms steadier than a surgeon, and that Q button placement is about as convenient as a screen door on a submarine. Would I buy it? Yes, because it makes me look like a proper photographer even when I'm just taking pictures of my lunch. Fujifilm X-S10. Listen, this camera is like that overachiever in class. Fantastic image quality up to ISO 6400, killer in-body stabilization, and a deep grip that feels just right. Sure, the autofocus tracking might make you want to pull your hair out sometimes, and there's no weather sealing, but damn. Those 18 film simulations make your photos look so good you'll forget about the quirks. Would I buy it? Yes, because it's basically a mini X-T4 at half the price. Canon EOS RP. The cheapest full-frame mirrorless you can get that doesn't feel cheap, with solid low-light performance and that sweet Canon color science. The battery life is about as impressive as a potato-powered calculator, and that 5 frames per second burst rate is slower than my grandma's internet connection. Would I buy it? Maybe, if you're not shooting sports or need crazy battery life. Nikon Z FC. This retro-styled beauty has excellent image quality and great autofocus for static shots, but trying to track moving subjects with it is like trying to catch a greased pig. The 20.9 megapixel sensor performs surprisingly well in low light, though the lack of a proper grip means you'll be clutching it like your life depends on it. Would I buy it? No, style over substance isn't my thing when there are better options. Olympus OMD-EM10 Mark IV. This tiny powerhouse packs a 20 megapixel sensor with impressive 5-axis stabilization that'll make your handheld shots look tripod sharp. The autofocus is snappy as hell, though the micro 4/3 sensor might make you cry a little in low light compared to the others here. Would I buy it? Maybe, if you want something super portable and don't shoot in the dark much. Nikon Z30. Look, if you want a camera that's basically a point-and-shoot on steroids, this thing nails it with excellent low-light performance, up to ISO 8000 and surprisingly good autofocus that only occasionally gets confused by glasses. The lack of a viewfinder is annoying as hell, but the fully articulating screen and that chunky grip make it super comfortable for vlogging and selfies. Would I buy it? Maybe. It's a solid beginner camera that takes great photos, but that missing viewfinder is a deal breaker for serious photography. Canon EOS R50. This little powerhouse packs some serious punch with its 24.2 megapixel sensor and impressive autofocus that actually works better than some of Canon's pricier cameras. The camera is tiny as a mouse, which some might love, but damn, those with normal-sized hands will struggle. It's almost too small to hold comfortably. Would I buy it? Yes, it's basically Canon's more expensive cameras in a smaller package, just with fewer buttons to mess up your settings with. Canon R100. Well, if it isn't Canon's attempt at making the cheapest possible mirrorless camera. And it shows with its fixed screen and ancient processor from 2018. The image quality is surprisingly decent though, with clean shots up to ISO 6400, but anything higher and you're entering potato quality territory. Would I buy it? No, it feels like Canon took their old DSLR, removed the mirror, and called it a day. Sony ZV-E10 II, this thing is a content creator's dream with 4K 60 FPS recording, killer autofocus, and a 3-capsule mic that actually doesn't suck. The only real downsides are the lack of in-body stabilization and the fact that it tends to overheat after about 45 minutes of 4K recording at 60 FPS. Would I buy it? Yes, it's basically a mini professional camera that's actually worth the money. Just keep a fan nearby. Ricoh GR III. Look, if you want a camera that fits in your pocket and takes stunning 24 megapixel photos with incredible detail, this bad boy delivers. The image quality rivals full frame cameras and the build quality is rock solid. The autofocus is slower than a snail racing through peanut butter, and you might get some dust issues, but the 3-axis stabilization and snap focus make up for it. Would I buy it? Yes, it's the perfect street photography companion that actually fits in your damn pocket. DJI Osmo Pocket 3. This tiny beast packs a 1-inch sensor that somehow manages to shoot better footage in low light than my expensive mirrorless camera, and the stabilization is so good you'll think you're a professional cinematographer. The touchscreen can be annoyingly laggy and the digital zoom is pretty useless, but the active tracking and quick startup time make it perfect for vlogging. Would I buy it? Yes, it's basically a pocket-sized film crew that takes 5 seconds to start shooting. Nikon Z50. This camera feels like a mini professional camera with its deep grip and dual control dials. Plus it shoots 4K video with no crop and has killer low light performance with its 20.9 megapixel APS-C sensor. The battery life isn't amazing at 300 shots, and it lacks a top LCD screen, but the autofocus system with 209 points makes up for these shortcomings. Would I buy it? Maybe it's a solid camera, but nothing particularly special about it that makes it stand out from the crowd. OM system OM5. This tiny powerhouse has insane image stabilization up to 7.5 stops and weather sealing that lets you shoot in conditions that would make other cameras cry. The autofocus system is about as reliable as a chocolate teapot, but it makes up for it with cool features like 50 megapixel high-res shot mode and starry sky autofocus. Would I buy it? Yes, it's basically the Swiss Army knife of cameras with more features than you'll ever need. Panasonic Lumix G85. The weather-sealed body with killer in-body stabilization makes this thing a tank for outdoor shooting, and while the 16 megapixel sensor might sound dated, it still delivers sharp images with great colors. The autofocus is surprisingly good even in dark conditions, but damn, that battery life is weak. You'll be lucky to get through a wedding ceremony without swapping batteries. Would I buy it? Yes, it's built like a brick house, and the stabilization is worth the price alone. Fujifilm X-T200. This budget beauty packs a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor that produces gorgeous photos with excellent dynamic range, and that fully articulating screen is perfect for selfies and vlogging. The autofocus system struggles with moving subjects though, and the build quality feels about as premium as a plastic lunchbox. Would I buy it? Maybe. Great image quality, but the autofocus makes me want to throw it out the window sometimes. Sony A6100. This little powerhouse has arguably the best autofocus in its class with freakishly good eye tracking, and the image quality from its 24 megapixel sensor is fantastic even in low light. The menu system is a nightmare that feels designed by a drunk engineer, and that LCD screen looks like it's from 2010. Would I buy it? Yes, the autofocus and image quality are so good I can forgive its annoying quirks. Thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you pick the mirrorless cameras under 1,000 for you. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. Links to all of these products mentioned in this video will be in the description.